Have you the other thing I wanted to talk about here is if you've tied any teams to a position because you like the odds for that team to draft that position.
I
Because
just
there's
mentioned
one
it. Cincinnati and a tight end. For me,
Okay.
Cincinnati and a tight end just seems too obvious to me. Cincinnati and a tight end seems too obvious. And then the other one that seems really fairly obvious to me would be defensive line or wide receiver to the Chiefs. Like, I think the Chiefs at the end are going to have the option of getting one of those like defensive linemen or one of those wide receivers that we've just talked about that just kind of is still lingering there. And I think one of those two positions that go into the Chiefs, because like the Chiefs, again, like Patrick Mahomes is still going to need weapons, right? I mean, like they're still going to have to give him stuff to work with and play with and all of that. And like, let's say a Flowers or a Hyatt is sitting there and they, last pick of the draft, Stephen, do you not want to give Patrick Mahomes one of those guys? Like, do you not want to get that fifth year on those guys, if they end up being a complete stud and all of that? Like, I just look at that, and you've invested $500 million in Patrick Mahomes. You have to continue to feed him weapons. And
it means you can't pay wide receivers on their second contract if they do well. So that extra year of control and potentially a sixth year on the franchise tag is a big deal for the Chiefs on a contract like that.
Yeah. So that is another one of the ones where I have kind of started to lean a little bit towards, maybe them also getting a wide receiver that one. So I
bet Chiefs plus 200 for a wide receiver. That's what I bet.
Yeah. I think that one's fairly interesting as well. Outside of that, man, it's been a little bit more confusing, I think, for me, than a lot. I mean, conventional wisdom, the Chargers should take a wide receiver. They need one badly because what Keenan Allen and Mike Williams do, it's fine. And that's great and all for Herbert, but a guy with a cannon like he has, and also like for him to be in the bottom 8 in the NFL, as far as average depth of target and average reception, like they got to have somebody they can throw the ball to down the field, and they don't have that. And so it seems it seems obvious to me as a guy that doesn't, who's not making the decisions, that they would want to do that. And again, give their young quarterback like what he needs to actually be able to maximize his full potential. But that is also where at least I've been looking as Chargers kind of wide receiver as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you one on the defensive side here. We talked a little bit. I know you thought maybe the Eagles would be a landing spot for Bijan Robinson when we recorded. Mm-hmm. And then ironically, Daniel Jeremiah goes on NFL Live on Thursday night and says after working for 2 years in the Eagles front office, he thinks there's a less than 0% chance that Howie Roseman and company will spend an early first-round pick on a running back because it's just completely against their philosophy. And positional value, all that stuff. So if we can rule that out, the Eagles right now are minus 160, minus 170 to draft an offensive lineman. They already have their left tackle, Mailata. Jason Kelsey's back. They've drafted a couple guys to be the heir apparent to Kelsey, potentially at center. Lane Johnson, he plays right tackle. You can find one of those maybe with their later pick.
Yeah.
And if you look at how the top 10 stacks up in terms of grading systems and player grades, I think we would both agree that the defensive players in the top 10 are being graded far higher than the offensive linemen when there isn't a true left tackle in this draft. Mm-hmm. So to me, getting plus 180 on the Eagles to take defensive line or edge really kind of matches up with what we know about Howie Roseman's philosophy and the strength of the players available in the top 10 as well in this draft.
Yeah, you would want to believe that they would go pass rusher, right? Like in that,
they also lost a lot on the front, right? In this offseason.
Yeah, you would like to believe that they would go pass rusher too. And if you're getting plus money on that, right? I mean, so that seems like a pretty good spot too. And again, the likelihood of that increases even more if the Cardinals do trade out of the 3 spot, because then now you would, in theory, you're getting one of those guys to fall down and, et cetera, et cetera. So Something certainly to think about.